Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 146th episode of our first run through the House of Light expansion to Book of Hours, playing as the Archaeologist. We had a bunch of books that we queued up for some memories, so we're going to read those first. We'll use that to level up Drums and Dances, and then with any spare time we have left, we'll also put some levels into Applebright Euphonies. So we're finishing our music lessons from last episode. The Debate of Seven Cups, Distillations of Spirit, recorded by an alchemist who identifies himself in the foreword as but Sir Thomas Browne's reflection. So we've read this one before, and there's that reference, there's the line here from whenever we have Lantern. Life is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Thomas Browne. That's near the end, I believe it's near the end of Urn Burial, which is, I have a nice little Penguin Classics. It's actually not Penguin Classics, it's a different series they did. Anyways, it's a nice little book. But it's a nice little callback to that line. This is, the description of Lantern has actually been in Cultist Simulator, or it's been in the series since Cultist Simulator, but I believe Thomas Browne's reflection, whoever that is something new. All right, Distillations in the Spirit, recorded by an alchemist who identifies himself in the foreword as but Sir Thomas Browne's reflection. Time is a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Darkness and light divide the course of time, and until that course is run, eternity remains history's bedfellow. Sorrow, then, is sense's final solvent, and even a tear, should it fall now, might destroy... even a tear, should it fall now, might destroy stone. What does not bark? Alexander Props writes warily of Calyptra, a law, principle, or society which prevents the dissemination of dangerous knowledge. Calyptra, like the planet that occludes the star, or the Doylean dog that fails to bark, can be identified only by its absence. Even the name, I think, must be a mask. Calyptra is said to make exceptions specifically for the libraries of the Watchman's Tree. Does it make those exceptions so the Hours can make use of them? That's the storm we were looking for. Unhatched hymns attributed to St. Lucia the Eyeless, patron of glassworkers, and name of the hour called Meniscate. The hymns venerate every sanctioned hour, celebrating them as the sun undivided, but also suggesting that each hour may become the next, madrigad to watchman, watchman to wolf, and so on. The hymn of the phases celebrates the Meniscate from whom we do not turn, for the truth which is beauty, the beauty which is truth, and the perfect balance between the two. The hymn of reflections more puzzlingly celebrates the Meniscate as sister of Janus, mother of shadow, whose visage wondrous in emptiness can reveal all truths. So I highlighted the sun just because I know I went on for a bit about the sun in the previous episode, thinking that I might get onto this, but clearly I didn't plan my time well, so just a little callback to the previous episode. That's going to go to Applebright Euphonies. Traveling at Night, Volume 2, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Alopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, literate, entertaining, bewildering. There is an extensive discussion on the comparisons between Alopoli's own dreams and those of the Emperor Elagabalus, who Alopoli regards as a dupe or avatar of the sun in rags. The white is west of the world, Alopoli remarks, and winter does not wait forever. Elagabalus found his way to the White Door at last, thankfully. Speech can't pass the White Door, and honestly, Elagabalus never had anything very interesting to say. I tried to follow in his footsteps, but I never learned enough of the White. I suppose I'm thankful for that too, but here's what I do know. The Intimations of Skin, fiendishly complex, weirdly distorted illustrations of Congress and anatomy by the haunted visionary painter Niels Fredrik Malsker. Malsker illuminates the evolutions of the names of the Grail with unfortunate clarity. It seems that a lovely who consumes an ivory becomes an ivory, a lovely who consumes a thirstly becomes a thirstly, a lovely who consumes a name of another hour might take its place. In the penultimate illustration, a lovely grapples with a fungoid knot that can only be a name of the crowned growth. The lovely's mouth and other portals gape wide, and the growth name is already partially engulfed, but it seems that Malsker couldn't bring himself to illustrate the result, and the final illustration is only a scrawled, bloated obscurity. The Instruments of the Heart. Sister Isabel, then precentress of the Abbey Church of St. Brendan's, engages in dialogues with a heart-long of a kind called Dwendrazon that has taken partial possession of her body. The Dwendrazon, like all its kind, usually dwells in the Mansis, but can enter the physical world by manifesting as music and take possession of a willing or semi-willing mortal who hears and loves that music, like Isabella. Isabella records her dreams of the High Mansis, where she is accorded the Dwendrazon status and titles. In return, the Dwendrazon enjoys what it calls Sejura, a welcome oblivion. Our mostly blessing is that we may never cease, except in Sejure. There is something more that Isabella refers to as the Sejura Magna, but she laments that her Dwendrazon will not tell her exactly what that might be. And Callicite Supplications, prayers addressed to the Red Grail by the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot. If we should remember not, let our children remember in their redmost dreams. One prayer describes how sufficient Grail aspect can be used with Tridesma Hyra rites to give a life, a little life to a doll twisted from fabric. So let's divide the elements that I'm going to be using to level these things up. So let's put we'll set the health aside for surgeries, surgeries and exsanguinations by way of drums and dances. And then we'll also set aside the Arab for Applebright Euphonies. So I'm going to need 2 memories for that. We can use the metal at Ava's desk. So again, we're looking for Grail and Sky, but they can't be Grail and Sky that I've already generated or will generate. So I'm going to start, this is going to be a little tedious, but I'm actually going to reread the books just to make sure that I'm not missing anything obvious. So Savage Hymn we already have. Secret Threshold doesn't help us here. Foresight doesn't help. Impulses we've already got. We've already got Confounding Parables. We'll have a Storm. Pattern is Forge and Knock. Regret doesn't help us here. No Hindsight. Gossip. All right, I think we're in the mountains as upon the plain. And I think I'm going to be able to get away with something crafting as well. Yep. Grand Piano. Simplicity is the final achievement. After one has played a vast quantity of notes and more notes, it is simplicity that emerges as the crowning reward of art. Friedrich Chopin. So, don't remember if Bells and Braziers does. Nope, the Wistful Air will cover it. Recall a sweet and sorrowful song. Bells and Braziers with Prentice level Sky creates Wistful Air. Or for a Scholar level recipe, use an instrument to raise it to a greater music. Okay, so another thing that I'm going to want to do is to remember to have 2 elements of the soul to generate the memories with. So I guess we can do that with the Shapt. And then from here, I can start generating just some last-minute goodies. I thought we had Sky Stories. I think I'll also do a little gardening. Get some more history plant. So what's nice about this is I don't have an immediate use for the metal and the whist, so these are sort of my insurance policy for if I do anything foolish. If it comes down to it, I don't have a whole lot of spare room when it comes to leveling up. With using up this core, I don't have any more spare room in terms of leveling up Applebright Euphonies or surgeries and drums and dances. But in terms of generating new memories, I should be good to go with those if I wind up in a pinch. We will use herbs and infusions. Okay, so let's see where the day takes us. First up, we will get the scent. Better now. So we'll turn that into money. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Oh, hang on. Nope, we're good. Sorry, for some reason I thought I needed to read another book, but... And actually I could have used the sun's weakness as well. He does a lot with silence, this man. So I'm not worried too much with Denzel creating duplicates. It's, you know, kind of the cost of doing business at this point. We're reasonably confident in terms of where the day's going to go as far as the memories, so everything else is just a nice little bonus. Watchful potted plant, not everything needs eyes. The sense of awareness persists, but the plant remains immobile, unsettling but harmless. It doesn't even have thorns. So let me just double check the totals that we've got here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm now worried. I think this is because I didn't recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with the sound, I'll get 7. Impulse, scent, cheerful ditty, storm. Okay. Impulse, scent, cheerful ditty, storm, solace, satisfaction. Yeah. I didn't think about... Okay, so this will be slightly inconvenient. I think we'll just generate that. We'll just generate that tomorrow. I don't think I want to upset too much of the plan here. So we'll take the Hush House key, heavy enough that it takes both hands to turn, heavy enough to brain someone, though you'd need both hands for that too. I could theoretically use the Shap to try and generate a curious hunch off of the, say, the clouds, but I don't really think it's worth... I don't know how much... So basically, I don't know how close to 90 seconds I have to generate the curious hunch, so it's just better for me to do it tomorrow. Well, okay, same logic applies. If I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm already taking up the element. Let's see, can I get away with... Well, if I didn't give up the shaft, I could have. What clever thing can I try and do here? So if I go to the governor's desk and I add metal... this would be better if I go to Ambrose's desk, actually. So, Ambrose's desk with a preliminal meter. And if I were to add the clouds... Right. So, the Shrine to St. Januarius is slightly better, but I think I'm short... No, I can put that in devotion. But I need 2 more knock. And I'm not ready to give up the occult scrap. Yeah, so maybe it's better for me just to wait. The last option that I would actually, yeah, no, there is one way for me to do it. I don't feel super good about it, but oh no, maybe not. Hindsight, yeah. That's what these reserves of amethyst ampules are for. So I'm sure I'll regret doing this, but More hindsight. Thank you, Denzel. Okay, the Hall of Voices. Here, the higher initiates of the threefold mysteries would meet to manage the affairs of the Black Dove and to resolve its disputes. Here, they voted to blind and expel the chorates of the Thunderskin, who had trespassed in the inner chambers and spied on the mysteries. From that time on, the rites of the Thunderskin were not permitted on the isle, and the sacred drums fell silent, but the waves still beat in the bones of the rock. Even now, that slow pulse comes. So there's quite a few good things that I get out of this. So first of all, this is another place where we can hold a salon. We have Lambic Broselendi, distilled from apples in the oldest forests of the western continent. We've got mortar and pestle. We've got black sapphire wash, the color, perhaps, of the doors of the House of the Moon. The hearth, the Hall of Voices. Here the priestesses prepared those meals which they would not or could not entrust to their servants. So this is a nice one to have because it gives me Moon, Edge, Nectar, and Grail. So if you compare that to the others here, right, so there's no Moon and Edge. No Moon and Edge. So this frees up a little bit more. If we take a look at the elements of the soul that we can use to make food with from these. So the Hall of Voices will allow me core, Arab, health, tryst, metal. I think that's it. Yeah, we already did tryst. Of course, our original. So health's already accounted for, core's already accounted for. In fact, I believe we get... I don't think there's anything new that we add here. And then the jail kitchen range will give us whist, fost. So I think it's just shapt that we can't... Sorry, shapt and fet that we can't cook with. Mostly trivia at this point, but still nice to know what my options are. Okay, so yes, we are going to wind up losing 2 elements of the soul in the morning. I can live with that, though. In the mountains as upon the plain, there may not be a path where none has passed. Nangala of Lagash describes the secrets to be found in the mountains. Nangala tells a number of lively stories about riddling ogres and wars between mountain tribes, but turns somber in the tale of the empty-handed hunter, a lover of the Grail who sought to match her appetites and join her as an hour, but in the end rent and devoured himself, giving his name to the mountains he had once roamed. Angala claims that the Hours, who sometimes manifest as birds, the laughing thrush, the ivory dove, the beach crow, and the witch and sister, meet at a secret location on a mountain top to exchange gossip unheard by their peers. Now and then a mortal overhears them. The mortal is always obliterated, and the meeting place always changed. So that's gossip for the Applebright Euphonies. I'm going to move that down just so I don't wrap them up. Here's the Wistful Air. Let it rise in head and heart, a half-sorrowful music of half-pleasant longing. Serena Blackwood herself forged this key. I'm tired of losing it. Memory sound. A memory lasts longer than an echo. Of course, when speech came into the world, we could cast echoes into words. And we could cast echoes into words. Things got more complicated. So let's sort everything out before we lose the full day. So that's our top level for drums and dances. We'll be giving up the Arab to make the Applebright Euphonies work. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Clearly, I mean, I have the option of using the whist, but I don't really see any advantage in doing so. Denzel gave us the intuition, which is nice. We should be able to take that overnight. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. Another wild viper. Don't make any sudden moves. And I believe we've already got one of these. Nope. Perhaps I was mistaken. I feel like the viper might be better to keep in the warm forge, so we'll find another place for the loyal dog. Where'd you go? You know what? Loyal dog can go by the fire. Make sure we put the wild viper into a useful spot at some point. Whispering sand, white silver sand in which the voice of the waves lingers. I think that'll just be bridge bound for now. More agave eterna. Agave eterna, the history plant, unlike its cousin the century plant, blooms every year. Perhaps it will do so forever. And an awakened feather. I can't remember if I had... Alright, looks like we didn't use it. So we'll give 0.6 seconds. There we go. The skill is now level 9. Its power aspects have also increased. So we'll do just a little bit of reorganizing. And then finally, Applebright Euphonies, which I will take the time to reposition. I think we more or less settled on this being at 5, so I'll just put it as the next entry. Yeah, so right here. So satisfying to have come so far. So again, the day, as far as efficiency is concerned, we could have done a little bit better with the elements of the soul, but we mostly got what we were looking for. Quite a bit earlier than I thought it was going to be. But, again, doesn't really matter. Alright, sunny day. Moth's gift or mine? The skill is now level 5, its power aspects have also increased. So the funny thing here is that I spent so much time preparing for all of this. You know, we're at kind of at the end of summer. I was really expecting that we'd get an Oriflamme's offer. So I need to spend a moment just to think about how I'd like to use the day. So the challenge that I run into right now is that we are about due for a... we're about due for Numa. So I don't want to go crazy in terms of generating lots of lessons. But as you could see, there were definitely some cases where I could say, yeah, you know, let's just, you know, we'll take the time to level up some of these higher value ones. And again, The specific, logic that I'm applying here is to say, when it comes to something like Edicts Martial, which went in at the top of Horamachistry, it does not make any sense to pursue those during Numa. That's what I'm sort of the most stressed in terms of trying to get everything done in a fixed period of time. And when basically it's going to be the time where I want to get those sort of lower level early wins. But the challenge with the end of the day here is what I'm really looking for is something where, like, let's say I want to take Tridesma Hyra to a 9, which actually sounds like a pretty good idea now that I say it, so this might be something that I go for. But I'm adding this extra challenge here where, because of the circumstances I find myself in, what I'd ideally find would be something with a grail, or like a lesson with 1 grail or 1 moon, which, come to think of it, would be resurgences and emergences from the Skeleton Song. So I think I've basically worked out my game plan for today. But we'll take some time to maybe look at all the candidates, because we did find out in the previous run, like on the previous day's work, we did wind up with sort of some leftover elements of the soul. So I don't want to short myself opportunities as well. So let's say Tridesma Hyra to 9 is one option that I have. What would some others be? So Great Signs and Great Scars already locked into Horamachistry, I believe. And I think I'd said at some point that I was okay with Preliminal Meters staying at 7. I'm actually trying to remember where that came from, but I do actually see that I've written a 7 beside Preliminal Meter. And maybe that's because I was thinking about Purifications and Exaltations being a 6. So maybe I haven't figured out an 8 and a 9 yet, but let's just leave that as it is. Now, did I have a plan for Sights and Sensations? That would be in... I think that'd be more likely to be in Hushery. Yeah, okay. So I can see myself trying to get 2 Sights and Sensations, or maybe to try and bring up Auroral Contemplations. So Sights and Sensations is Sky and Winter. I'm actually liking the idea of this more and more because there's not a lot of overlap in terms of skills. So if I said we use the Skeleton Songs, what would get me my Sights and Sensations? Wouldn't say no to a second Glory, I suppose. Then again, the Serenity of the Black Wood would give me the Sky from Sacra Lamea. So I guess it comes down to which one I can read a little more easily. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do, this might be how we wrap up the episode, just so I can... Oh, sorry, there's one other thing that I want to look at, which is Red Forbidding, Crimson Mist, Specken, and Sway. So Grail and Nectar. If anything, that's something for autumn when we have the Orchard Keeper. So I don't... The Perilous Path has sort of a small argument for trying to... I mean, it's the same way that the Sagging Dock does, but I think I can live without opening some rooms for a while. I do want to catalog these books when I get the chance, but I like the idea of pursuing these memories somewhat aggressively. So let's take a minute here. I'm going to erase some old notes, and then I'm going to add some new ones specifically as relates to leveling up Sights and Sensations and Tridesma Hyra. Let's actually go for Tridesma first, and we'll actually just work this all out for the one, and then we'll move on to the other. So this is a Grail and Moon opportunity that I'm looking for. Not too much to start with. So Confounding Parables works. Regret doesn't help me here. Hindsight doesn't. Fears doesn't, but Contradiction will. Salt definitely will. So that takes me up to 3. Revelations doesn't help. Solace doesn't help. That's still more Revelations. Gossip works. Our old friend Intimations of Skin, so Beguiling Melodies. Bittersweet Certainty doesn't help, but Stolen Secrets does. Satisfaction. And Intuition. Okay, that gives us the 8. That gives us the 8 without needing to worry about anything else. That's pretty good. I don't think we'll have all the desks for it, but we can definitely make this work. Sights and Sensations is another question. So we have a head start because of its because of the amount of sky involved. And in fact, one of the things that I might do to try and maximize the desks would be where I have the opportunity to try and use the audio, like to use the phonographs, and also to use music generation through things like bells and braziers to carry me through the day. Again, we're going to be a little short on Elements of the Soul, but I don't think that's impossible to manage. But again, we want a fair accounting of what's possible. So Savage Hymn. It's important to make sure that Tridesma Hyra gets dealt with first so that we can clear out the Beguiling Melody for the Sights and Sensations. So Cheerful Ditty. Foresight doesn't help. Impulses don't help. Confounding Parable does, so another one where we'll have overlap. Storm helps. Solace. Regret. Hindsight. Salt helps. Which has already gotten us our 8, but I think it's good to account for everything. So Solace. Beguiling Melody. Bittersweet Certainty. And I think that's it. Okay. So it's pretty clear that we've got what it takes. We'll be a little tight for time. But on the other hand, I also have some get out of jail free cards, so I can use things like the Old Wound, the Wormwood Dream. There's a few things that I can do to try and angle this to my favor. So what I'm going to start with, I think, this is going to be a bit unconventional. We're definitely going to read the relevant texts. because this is what gets the ball rolling. So whatever the lowest grail I can throw at this is. I can master this mystery. And then I guess this next one I need to be a little more thoughtful because I may actually need some help with this. Okay, Serenity of the Black Wood. Transformations and liberations. Nope, we've got just enough. Okay. So, where I'm gonna get a little tricky on this, let's do... So I'll set aside the Arab for Trades Mahaira, and I'll set aside 2 Whist for Sights and Sensations. We also have an Intuition arriving for free, which is nice. So one of the things that I'd like to try and do, I want to try and take advantage of the... So a little bit like how I can generate memories using instruments. I also want to take advantage of some of my skills to generate certain memories. So I think Preliminal Meter might be an example of this. So we can make a confounding parable and a secret threshold without reading a book. So I want to take the opportunity to do that. I don't believe I can do that with Contradiction, Salt, Gossip. Can probably do it with a Beguiling Melody. Stolen Secrets I might be able to generate. Yeah, so there'll be a handful of those that I can make. Let's actually we'll get a head start with the preliminary. It's a little overkill to use Preliminal Meter on this, but it works. So there's the Confounding Parable. I'm actually going to make a quick note for myself here too that that's already on the way. We'll use the Quivering Double Bass to make... I'm guessing Applebright Euphonies will help us with that. Although that does involve me using the Faust, which makes me a little uncomfortable. Oh, we could have made a Confounding Parable with that. Conceive or recall delightful little music. All right, so the tricky part here is seeing if I can figure out where that stolen secret comes from. Can't really do this at a desk in the final version, but I figure this can at least give me a head start. I could actually be wrong about that. Maybe something I should work on my own time. That altar would have been helpful for generating. Yeah, the lack of rows is gonna hurt me, I think. You know, I think maybe for this one I'll give it a rest. And what I'll try to do instead is we've got Opening the Sky, which I can take advantage of a phonograph for. I believe with Drums and Dances I should be able to get a Savage Hymn out of it. I can also use the Wistful Air, which would also help me with Sights and Sensations. And essentially what the big thing on this is that this is going to be giving me an advantage when it comes to reading the other texts. So I'm already 10 minutes over on here, so I think I'll leave it. But for things like the Contradictions, Salt, maybe not even the Gossip, because we might get that from one of the... Well, see, no, the argument is I should still be reading stuff because it'll get me memories in time. But yeah, so Contradiction, Salt, Gossip, Stolen Secret, Satisfaction, and Intuition, and then everything else is just giving us a head start for Sights and Sensations, which sounds like a pretty good deal to me. But we'll handle that all in the next episode. So I think for the rest of the summer, we're going to worry about bringing 2 more skills up to level 9. Now, one small drawback behind that is I didn't work out a plan. So I've got some things at level 9, but I may not necessarily have all of the elements to commit them to the Tree of Wisdoms. So this might leave me short the elements of the soul that I would normally apply towards leveling up my skills in Numa. But you can't have everything. I think we're already kind of committed to the path. So at the start of the next episode, we will allocate the relevant desks for my reading. I'll try and generate some music in the, across the various instruments. In fact, I'm particularly looking to take advantage of the organ. But I think we have a very reasonable shot at getting Tradis Mahaira and Sights and Sensations leveled up while still being able to do our usual routine of earning some money and hiring people, which I will do right now. All right, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.